a lot of the policies that we have put in place has kind of helped lead the devastation in Venezuela, and we've sort of set the stage for where we are arriving today. This particular bullying and the use of sanctions to eventually intervene and make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States.
That's her take. The Trump administration fires back at Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman, for suggesting that the United States is at least partly to blame for the crisis that's unfolding in Venezuela. Here is the Vice President, Mike Pence.
The congresswoman doesn't know what she's talking about. Nicolas Maduro is a socialist dictator who's taken what was once one of the most prosperous nations in this hemisphere and brought it literally to a level of deprivation and oppression and poverty that we have never seen.
Strong words there from the vice president. The freshman Democrat tweeting a short time ago, women of color have heard this before. Instead of we disagree, it's she doesn't know what she's talking about. They have to make us feel small, she says. This from an administration that thinks climate change is a Chinese hoax. Joining me now, Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw of Texas. Congressman, good to have you with us today. Thank you for being here tonight. What do you make of all that?
Well, her opinion is one that is not based on facts or reality. Okay, I've been going to Venezuela a long time. My family actually used to live in Caracas, and I've traveled there a number of times. I've watched these policies ruin the country. It's not U.S. policy, and notice she didn't give an example because she doesn't have any. But what's actually happened is through price controls and nationalization of private industry, you've ruined an economy. And we have 100 years of examples to show for this. When you put in these kind of socialist policies, it destroys a country. It happens over and over again. People starve. That is what's happening right now. These failed ideas that keep bubbling up. And it's a real shame to see that we have members of Congress actually defending them and always going back to this. It's the U.S.'s fault. It's always America's fault. And if you disagree with me, you're disagreeing with me because of my identity. That's basically what she said in that tweet. And that's really cheap. That's a really cheap shot to take.
Let me ask you this, because there's discussion that the military option is on the table. We hear that all the time. You, of course, have fought for our country. You're a Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL. I don't think you can say former, right? You're always a Navy SEAL. And we thank you for your service. But is it worth, and Tulsi Gabbard was on the other night, she's running for president, she said it's not worth putting American lives on the ground for Venezuela and the mess that they have created for themselves in some ways.
Yeah, it's an ongoing situation. I don't think we should take that option off the table. I would agree with Tulsi Gabbard at this point. I don't think we want to put troops on the ground. I'm not sure Juan Guaido and his followers want American troops on the ground. But we don't want to remove that from the table either. We don't want to remove that option. We don't want to give any sense of emboldenment to the Maduro regime right now. We want to keep supporting Juan Guaido and his movement and hope that they can be...
Do you think he's going to prevail, Guaido?
I mean, it's clear that he has the support of the people. It's clear that people want their freedom, they want Maduro gone, and they want change. And I think, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that that takes place.
So we played a little clip before you came on of a protester who was yelling at you at an appearance that you made. Let's play that for everybody at home.
TPUSA is for Nazis, and you should be ashamed of your service in Afghanistan. It was an illegal war of aggression by the United States. You should be ashamed of yourself, not proud of your service.
If you have to call somebody a Nazi, it's a good indicator that you haven't thought through your argument very well.
I don't know how I follow that.
That was fun. At least we had a little bit of... That was...
Okay.
But get more creative with your insults, man. Like, Nazi, come on. All right.
It was a good day.
Incredible, right?
I only got called a Nazi once.
He was all fired up. Yeah. He was all fired up.
Yeah, he left very emotional. He didn't stay for the debate. But
no, that's true.
To be fair, that was only one incident like that through that whole very good experience. Actually, I love going to college campuses and just putting myself out there for students. Reaching young people is the most important thing we can do. But what you saw there is a real problem with American discourse right now. We always go to the first insult that we can think of, and on the left, what do they go to immediately? It's calling you a Nazi. This is really problematic, both in terms of discourse, but also in terms of how these kids are getting educated, but also what it does to diminish the word Nazi. When you call someone a racist all the time or call someone a Nazi all the time,
it means nothing.
It means nothing anymore, and it's getting ridiculous.
Dan Crenshaw, Congressman, thank you. It's always good to see you tonight. Thanks for being here.